Alright, so I'm filming all of this out of order. This is the first video of the shoot, but you're going to be seeing the second because of, well, if you saw the previous video, you will know why. Anyway, I'm going to be talking in this video a bit about my filming setup, but that's a little bit later. Mainly what we're talking about here is one of the most useful human inventions of all time, Lego. The poor man's 3D printer. Check this out. Okay, so I made this to hold my phone while not upright so that I could read it from off camera while I'm filming. That way I don't have to, let's see, well, there's knots in there. So you can see, you can see that I can see when I have this off camera. If I'm doing one of those Rapidfire playlist videos, like either of these two, there we go, and I don't have the order of the knots committed to memory. If they're not in an ordered list committed to memory, it's really hard to remember to get all of them. So having a list on hand like this is really helpful. I leave this on a shelf at about chin height for when I'm like in various places, so that I can just drop my phone in wherever it is in situations where I would want to very quickly pick it back up and do stuff with it if I'm going to be watching with it long term, and this is the best part of this kind of a setup. I reconfigure it a little bit. There we go. That is the entire process of how I change that around, and now it will comfortably do widescreen. Although I'm going to show you, let's see, yeah. So if I'm doing YouTube, it'll do widescreen. I don't have my Wi-Fi turned on this thing, but you get the point. And it's all the way out of the way of the screen. There. Very useful, and you can always disassemble this into something else, or if you're going to be traveling with this thing as a part of your setup, not there. After building with this stuff for a while, you learn some additional tricks for getting things apart. There. And now it's a much more robust little brick that I can throw around pretty comfortably. So that's my phone stand. I can also use that as a backup camera stand, like the one that I'm using right now, and I'm going to show you that one relatively soon. Just gotta, cut. So you might be wondering what this big ol' monstrous thing is, and this is where this video gets a little bit nerdy. Okay, so right away you can see that I detach it from this point right here, and then this piece will detach right there. It overlaps in 3, and we're going to break that apart, set that off to the side. Okay, we've got a hollow section and a hole right there, and some steps right there. Set that in the back, nail that down. Hopefully you can already guess what this thing is, but that is really, really unlikely. Okay, I'm going to have to change camera angles in order to get the whole thing in view, so bear with me for that. There we go. That's at least close enough to the whole item. Okay, so you can see we have a hole in through the top. Those pieces are not super rigid because they're only hanging on by 2 pegs, but it's enough. This thing is a dice roller, because I play tabletop RPGs, and it's big enough that it'll handle a 30-sided die, which yeah, 30-sided dice are awesome. The way that I have this one built, it's not tall enough to do all the randomization yourself, so you have to randomize it in your hand and then drop it in, but you're not going to lose your dice if you do that. Okay, this one doesn't have as many, you know, extra options to it. The only other thing that I can think of is if you are a very forceful roller or drop them in from pretty high, that is your kick backstop there. Dashboard. Will stop things from just flying out the end there if you're doing a lot at once, or if you throw them down there particularly hard. Although you should not do that. I could make this thing a little bit more robust than I currently have it, but I don't want to use too many pieces, too many blocks to do a project like this. It just kind of has to be able to take the abuses that I put it through. And oh, right, one special thing that I didn't really mention too much is I have these 3 little pegs there that sit up slightly taller so that it doesn't stick to the bottom there. So it's only contacting when I seal it down in those 3 spaces right there, so it's easy to take the thing back up. And I lost one, but you know, it doesn't interfere with our rolling. There we go, that's that thing. The bigger deal is really this and what I can do with this. For example, okay, so this is my camera stand. It's currently at one of the higher elevations for how I typically use it. Normally, when I'm using it, I've just got it in that position. And because of the angles involved in everything, having these little fronty pieces up here doesn't actually get in my way a whole heck of a lot. Or I'll take those off and put those there. Or, you know, whatever. I can back those up there, and there might be a series of images on screen showing you the different tilts and how it behaves right there, but I can't do that because I'm currently using the device that I use to film to show you this. One of the other options is right there, so that it would sit in this tiny little slot, and that's how I shot the backflick video, that I'm very fond of. Generally, when I am filming on this thing, you could put blocks on the underside right there towards the ends to adjust the elevation, but I prefer to keep it flat because it's more stable that way. Speaking of flat, let's zoom out a little bit and see what my actual filming setup looks like with everything in place. So that is normally what it looks like for me when I'm filming one of these videos. I gotta back up enough so you can see everything. That's a 24 case of Coke, and normally it's a 12 case, but we're out of those, so I had to use a bigger one. It gets it exactly the right elevation for my, oh, that's a little tilted back. That gets it exactly the right elevation to film whatever it is that I'm working on, so that you can see everything and I can see everything, but I don't have to reach like way up here. That's essentially in the other side, all the way to the other side of the table. Like, I'm going to back it up a little bit. I don't have to reach all the way over there. Lego makes for a really good solution to a lot of stuff like this, especially if you understand some basic engineering principles. Like, if I wanted to do it, the reason that I have to do this little foot in the back right here, when I have it like that, is because it won't support the weight up there without at least this backing block. But what I want is to have these two upright blocks right there, and they have to be set wide enough apart that it'll hold that comfortably. But that doesn't work for this, so I have to rebuild it. Like, this is really easy to topple over. But it's not as easy to topple over if I have this here. There's one more of these sorts of devices that I've made for that, and I'm probably going to have to cut in here somewhere in order to bring it out and show you, because it is fully disassembled, and I'd have to zoom way out in order to show you. Yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, apparently I lied. I had actually fully disassembled that, so there's nothing left to show you, and I'm not going to spend 20 minutes putting it back together exactly the way that it was so that you can see it. But you can see how, if you have a problem, like your laptop is overheating, because you have a laptop, and you know that you need to get it up off of the table, whatever surface it is that you're using right there. The best way to do that would be to have some kind of framework that you can set it on that will be stable, that you can vertically build up, so that, geez, there's a lot of thumping going on, so that you can get it off of the surface and to the height that you want it, so you can go ahead in a stable manner without having to worry about ventilation underneath. That is a pretty good task for Lego, especially if you use a longer block like this as your support piece, maybe 4 of those, and have it taking weight this way where it's the strongest against a hard surface. Alright, so that's my Lego video. There we go.